Life is so busy. If you blink, you can miss something amazing. It's important to take a moment and enjoy what we have and the people around us. I'm Mo Hagan, Chief Operating Officer for canfitpro, and welcome to A Moment with Mo, a podcast where I will welcome some incredible guests to talk fitness and nutrition, mindset and self empowerment, setting our goals into action, and much, much more. Now let's get chatting. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode, A Moment with Mo. And I'm Mo Hagan, your host, guiding you through thought-provoking conversations on health, wellness, and personal and professional growth. My mission is to move people and spark positive global change. And about a decade, I'm going to say now over a decade ago, with the help of a coach, I deeply reflected on my career and life journey thus far, and I discovered my why, the core purpose that fuels me for everything that I do. And I realized in that moment and since then that my true calling is to help people find their true purpose and I help them unlock their full potential. Now, I've done that as a health and fitness professional for many decades now, but I'm really on a path to help move people forward, to inspire them to really step out of their comfort zones and find the courage to create the necessary change that helps them really live that full potential in their life. Big part of that, of course, is being health and movement, mind and body. I believe that when you know your why, then the path becomes clear. And that's when opportunities arise. You just never know what will be in front of you and what might lead you to the next part of your life journey. And speaking of discovering your why and unlocking potential, today's conversation is going to light up your mind, literally. I am thrilled to introduce someone who is leading the way in brain health, wellness, and lifelong learning. She is an expert on helping people strengthen their cognitive abilities, build resilience, and optimize mental performance. Joining me today is Jill Hewlett, a nationally recognized speaker, author, and brain fitness expert. Jill has dedicated her career to helping individuals and organizations improve productivity, wellness, and overall success through user friendly neuroscience and inspired wellness strategies. Jill is also a visionary behind women's wellness circles, a movement that began locally and now has expanded across Canada and internationally and creating profound community impact. So without further ado, Jill, welcome to A Moment with Mo.
Thank you so much, Mo. It's such a pleasure to be here with you. I've been looking forward to this conversation since we first discussed it, and here we are.
And here we are, and the power of being together in person. We have worked with each other and worked together in various platforms, but we always seem to be running by because we're always on the move. We were talking about that before the show. We're
That's
always
right.
on the move, which we love to do. And then we came across each other because you were a recent guest at canfitpro home office in Markham and help us launch a very exciting new online course, which we're going to talk about today. But
Yeah.
so great. We talked then. I said, I'd love to have you on my show. And then here we are.
I know. Timing is everything. And I'm really excited about this special announcement we're going to share. And yeah, you and I are kind of always crossing paths, but in the same circles, which is so cool. And, I have a question for you, Mo. How do you have all the energy that you do? Because you're doing so much. You're helping so many people. You're a going concern. How do you do it?
I love it. Going concern. Well, one, I never realized that my energy, and as a small kid, it was a lot of energy. It was called hyperactivity. I didn't realize that that actually became part of my brand, but I have learned recently through a past guest episode with Aaron King that my energy is actually my vibe, which has become my brand. But how do I harness that and protect it and fuel it? Well, I got to say that I work on my physical body and my brain fitness. I teach regularly. I'm always active. I don't go a day without moving my body. And I have to say, in my sixth decade of life, I've actually learned that sleep is a powerful fuel for harnessing your energy throughout the day. But I have to thank, the wonders of the universe that I was born with a lot of energy. And I think some of it has to do with the fact that I'm the oldest of a twin set, and I was always having to outrun my sister. I
Oh,
learned quickly.
yeah, yeah, I so enjoy hearing these connections, especially from childhood, because that relates to my story, actually, which we'll get into
Yeah.
potentially at some point. But our wound or our challenge can become our medicine and can become our
Mm.
passion and the gift that we bring to others. So I'm so impressed by how you've been able to use your energy for so much good. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Yes, and accidentally shaped it into a full-time career. And I do
Yes.
say intentionally shaped it into a full-time career, but it was somewhat by accident because I was actually moonlighting at a fitness club while I was going through physiotherapy school. And then as I became a physio, so I kept moonlighting, doing part-time projects for Good Life Fitness, back then, number one Nautilus. And I just kept, I kept following my passion and it became my purpose. And then, of course, the career happened because I trusted the path that was in front of me and the people that I met along it. And that's why I love having these conversations, Jill. And for the viewers and listeners, having conversations that with people that you admire and that you learn from, that you'd like to learn from because you admire or you look to them as mentors, it does help you shape clarity and help through their story, help you find your story, and through their path, help you courageously step forward onto your true path. So that's one
Yes.
reason I started a moment with Mo, to have these really deep conversations.
Oh, it's wonderful. And we are kindred spirits in more ways than I even realized. So it's really
All right.
fantastic to have this
I
chat.
love
Yes.
that. Happens every time. And I would be able to say that on every episode, I always realize, just as we've mentioned here, that I learned something about a guest, whether I've had the opportunity to work with them a little or a lot, that we're so connected, as we all are. And so here we are with Jill Hewlett today. We're all going to get deeply connected with you,
Thank you.
and what you're all about. And so I just want to let everybody know that what we're going to talk about today is brain fitness, what it is, why it matters, and how you can start incorporating it into your daily life. We're also going to dive into Jill's latest work with canfitpro's new a brain fitness for active aging course designed to empower fitness professionals and all individuals alike with knowledge and tools to support cognitive longevity. And this episode will be so informative and practical, leave you equipped with information and motivation to help you build your fit brain and fit life immediately and long term. Because that's what you do, Jill. So, are you ready?
I'm so ready. Yes, let's dive in.
Okay, let's dive in. So, my first question, Jill, is how did you get into this field of work and why are you so passionate about what you do?
Well, I'm so happy that you shared a bit of your background and childhood experience because I wasn't sure if I should go that far back in sharing how I got into the work I'm doing. But it is so relevant and it's so important because these early foundational experiences really did plant the seeds for what I'm doing now. So I won't go into it in too much detail because, as with anyone's story, it is so vast. But I'll share some key pieces that I think you'll really appreciate, Mo, and our listeners, and see how it relates to their journey too. So myself, um, I actually almost failed kindergarten. And that is kind of an interesting place to start, but it's true. I almost did not get progressed into grade one because I was a highly sensitive child. It's like I was wearing my nervous system outside of my body. And I am the eldest of three girls. So I'm the oldest sibling, just like you're the eldest twin. And in my situation or my case, I actually wanted to be home with them. They were younger, then go off into the school system. Like, why did I have to leave home when they got to stay at home? And on top of it, the year that I began school was when my parents opened a sporting goods store, a retail sporting goods store that we actually lived behind. And so my family was all there running the business. My sisters were at home, and here I was going off to school. So it didn't fully make sense. And while I was there, I just really wanted to be at home with them. So that was my start into the world. And that summer, before going into grade 1, just to help me develop further, I went to a summer camp that supported children's growth and development. And really what we did the entire time was play games, do activities, bounce on trampolines, make crafts, sing songs in the beautiful summery outdoors. And whatever happened during that time, I developed neurologically, physiologically, and I became more regulated and ready to progress into grade 1, lo and behold. So things caught up and I entered into the school system. Of course, grade 1 was so different than kindergarten. You're now sitting in desks listening to a teacher instead of in this kind of open play format. But anyway, that is another story. But I learned to adapt to it. But in my adaptation to that, it wasn't necessarily supporting my real learning style and what resonated and felt best for me. But I learned to cope and I learned to adapt. So what ended up happening is, going through public school, my mom knew to put us in a lot of activities. And of course, living behind a sports store, there was also that culture that I was constantly exposed to, which was geared around exercise, activity, fitness. And so it was finally when I was entering into middle school years that I discovered that I was an athlete, that I enjoyed sports. I enjoyed participating in movement-based opportunities and clubs and programs. And so that became like such an important outlet for me that by the time I was in high school, I became the girls' athletic representative. And I was playing on all the school teams. And I was just really, if I wasn't doing it, I wasn't feeling good. So it was really key to my own growth and development, my balance, and my regulation. So fast forward, I was going into university to become a school teacher. That was my plan at the time. And when I started into the program at McMaster, I was just learning to juggle a lot. Like many of us, when we leave home for the first time into post-secondary education, and between managing all my classes and doing my own laundry and managing my meals and all the things that are involved, I put my fitness to the side. And, I think the gift in that was that I got to see the contrast because I was so busy. And then my social life too, I was trying to, cultivate. And so the personal exercise, fitness side, movement side of my life was not really existing. And it caught up with me. I started to notice I was not feeling good. I was not myself. I wasn't sleeping well. I wasn't able to concentrate in my classes. Physically, I didn't have the same energy. I was feeling just out of sorts. And I was like, what is going on here? Like I had learned to become a good student. I had learned what the rules were. I knew what I needed to do at school to get where I wanted to go, according to that game plan at the time. But it wasn't really supporting my brain plan because ultimately it was out of balance. And so what I did was, and you're going to appreciate this, Mo, I was like, that's it. I need to get out there and be more active. And I discovered that at the time, the old school football gym was being reconstructed to what was called the Pulse, led by a woman named Linda Stewart Stone, who we recently found out we know in common. And I went to talk to her and we hit it off. And I found out that a lot of actually students in the phys ed program were going to be working there, but you didn't have to be in the phys ed program to get a job, but you did have to take the certification and all the courses. And ultimately, there was an opportunity to become a fitness instructor and a personal trainer. So I was taking courses down at the downtown YMCA, downtown Hamilton, and on campus courses. And it became like it lit my fire again. It was like a homecoming. It was like the thing that I'd used since kindergarten all the way up to my young adult years was now now in place. Like I was using these strategies and it was really benefiting my health and well-being. And so between taking yoga classes and nutrition classes and regular fitness classes and just working out at the gym at this new center called The Pulse, I just found my passion. It really became fully clear to me that maybe it wasn't for me to apply to teachers college after. I needed to look at health and wellness as a field of work. And fast forward from there, I graduated with my degree, went back home. And during that year of exploration into the health and wellness options that were available for career paths, I learned about something called educational kinesiology. And the cornerstone name for that is Brain Gym. And the founder of that body of work is Dr. Paul Dennison, and the co-founder is his wife, Gail. And it was like the biggest aha. It was a real meant to be integration of what I knew internally with the current science that was out there, because it's about applied brain research, taking the best practices for neuroscience and applying it to everyday life. And the cornerstone of his work is learning through movement. So using the body to activate the brain in strategic ways by intentional integrative movement.
So, Jill, it's evident that you are so passionate about what you do. So, I'd love us to dive right into the passion that has brought you to your work today. And then you can take it from there and we'll talk about brain fitness.
Absolutely. Well, ultimately, my goal is to share what's made a difference for me. That's first and foremost. And I believe that personal and professional growth can be easier than we make it. And, every person is unique, but our brain and body requires certain things. And a lot of times on my own path of learning, I found there was either a lot of motivation and rah, like you can do it, you've got this, but then you didn't know how to do it. Or there was a lot of logical science, heady kind of information, but just not accessible or tangible. So this really led me to synthesizing kind of the left and right brain of what came together to be Brain Fitness, my own program. And that's really the gist of it, is creating a fit brain and a fit life. But there are three main components that are woven throughout. First of all, it's the awareness that you can change, heal, optimize your brain health and functioning at every age and stage of life. And it's based on user-friendly neuroscience. So it's really activating our superpower, neuroplasticity, in intentional and strategic ways. And that leads to the third component, which are all the brain activation strategies that can be done at a desk, first thing when you wake up in the morning, throughout your day as needed, before you go to bed at night to have a better sleep. Anytime that it's not to replace going to the gym, it's the type of activation our brain needs on a regular basis to do what we do and function at our best.
Perfect. And it's what our brain needs to do. I love that. So, in terms of how to support the brain for what it needs to do, tell us a little bit about some of the program, perhaps design that you use to help the brain do what it needs to do. Give us an example of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first and foremost, you can look at it like a pyramid. And the base is that we have to address, first and foremost, our brain health. And that's general brain care. And that's supporting our brain and nervous system on a day-to-day basis. And so that we can not only grow and thrive and function optimally, but so we can also, as we're aging, reverse cognitive decline, mild cognitive impairments, and really avoid what's happening on the planet, which is a real explosion of mental health issues and dementias, brain issues. So it really is stepping into that brain care first and foremost. And then we can then leverage with the information and tools our emotional health. So that looks like activating our happy brain neurochemicals, connected with our motivation, our sense of engagement and participation in life, and overall emotional balance. So that would be the next part. And then we talk about our mental health. And that's about cultivating a growth mindset, looking at our sense of resiliency, our resourcefulness, our sense of purpose. And then all of that leads to the top of the pyramid, which is our executive functions, how we execute our lives. And a lot of times in schools and workplaces, people are looking at that very top part of the pyramid so that they can, get the job done, write the tests, finish their homework, hand in the assignment, give the presentation, launch the project, meet the deadlines, whatever it is, which is all very top level, without looking at the base. And the base will affect our ability to think clearly, decision make, communicate effectively, be more organized, problem solve, be creative and innovative. All those things that are so important in the workplace and in the classroom, for example, and in daily life. But you can't access and be your best there if everything else isn't supporting it.
That's a brilliant analogy, and it makes so much sense. People think they just want to work from here, perform from here, but they got to build the foundation and move to the top, which is a great. And when you shared, what it does, what it supports, it makes you think with the state of cognitive function as we age. But I want to ask you, because some people may assume, well, who needs this? Is it when you get older? My brain seems fine now, but I do want to perform. As soon as you mentioned to me about building it from the foundation and working through those three levels, made me realize right away, I wish I learned what you're talking about and sharing and all the work you do. I wish I learned that back in school versus my,
Yes.
the basic stuff, because I would have learned how to leverage my emotional health and my brain fitness much better for then to execute at a higher level as a student and as an adult. And at least now it's never too late, right? But tell us, who can benefit from brain fitness, because that'll be a great way to tee up for talking about the new Jill Hewlett Brain Fitness for Active Aging course.
Yes, absolutely. Well said. Like, you're connecting the dots, Mo. You're so good at this. Like, you're bringing your personal experience, which is so relevant, and we share similarities there. And also to everyone really who has a brain and a body, we need to get this structure in place and really support the foundation first and foremost, and work our way up.
Mm.
And it's like we've shifted the pyramid upside down, and it's become topsy turvy. So everyone with a brain and a body will benefit from brain fitness. Typically, when I go into work with different demographics, the sectors are most often the educational sector, the corporate workplace, health and fitness professionals, and then the active aging population. But that ranges from
Great.
children's, adults, and seniors. Yeah.
Well, as you said, through your own life story, you actually did brain fitness activity, and you did it in kindergarten. I mean, isn't there a book out there that says, how to live life based on what you learned in kindergarten? If we only learned some of those skills you learned in summer camp, that would have helped you in kindergarten, but you learned it as sort of a extra season of kindergarten in that camp. What an amazing thing your parents did to support that. And
Mhm.
it's hard for parents to know how to support their kids sometimes, especially if they are struggling. My mom signed me up for every camp possible, because not only was it a great way to, have a good babysitter for a very active kid, but it gave me a place to really move my body, therefore my mind. And I was a much happier kid, because according to my mom, I was a bit moody and frustrated as a kid, because I always felt like I was out of sorts, like you mentioned yourself. So the journey starts, anywhere in our life, but will zero in on the active ager, because I believe that's where a lot of the interest is right now in health and wellness, is with active aging. And active aging begins, I don't know, the definition for me is anytime that, you hit your 20s, 30s, you're actively aging. Although I guess what would be the definition of active aging? What age does active aging start? Tell us that,
Well,
and then let's jump
you're
into the
right.
new brain fitness course.
That's a great point. I mean, we're always aging. From the moment we're born, we're always aging. And
Yeah.
supporting that healthy development is relevant
Mm.
to all ages and stages. I find that people take for granted their brain and for several decades, and it's not
Yep.
until maybe more midlife when people become concerned about some changes they're seeing,
Hmm.
or potentially they're noticing what relatives, maybe their aging parents or aging relatives, are going through, and they're like, I don't want to go on that same path. I want to do things differently. So they may be more proactive. But typically, it's usually, I'd say 45 plus when people start to engage in that conversation. The reality is, though, the sooner we start, the better. But I
The
always
better.
tell people, the moment you're aware that you can sculpt your brain and body and create the brain fitness, that then today's the day you start.
Start. Perfect. So, on that note, we have together, and you have embarked upon a journey with canfitpro. And canfitpro is Canadian Fitness Professionals. We are the leading organization. I say we because I am privileged to work with canfitpro since its conception in 1993. I had to go back to my memory, which used to be quicker. And that's why I'm so eager to hear about this. But we're going to talk about the new CanFit Pro, Jill Hewlett, Brain Fitness for Active Aging. We're going to dive in. What makes the course so beneficial? Maybe tell us a few highlights, and
Mhm.
then we'll talk about the type of information that you cover in the course after that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'd say first and foremost, the slant of this course is very proactive and very positive. So it makes learning about active aging fun and enjoyable. I mean, learning is best done when we are enjoying the process, right? Our brain doesn't,
Right.
like, the moment we're not having fun learning, we're in stress. And then the information is not being processed effectively. So the approach is very relatable. The information is accessible. We take neuroscience and make it applicable to everyday life and specifically for the aging sector. However, it's also great for caregivers. It's also great for, again, people who want to address this topic proactively. So I think that's what makes this course so great and so unique.
And of course, as a fitness professional, I have applied brain fitness strategies and techniques from movements to cueing in my classes. I would imagine that this course would be ideal for any fitness professional and or health professional that works with clients and or a community, correct?
Oh, absolutely. Because fitness professionals are already doing this. I mean, you're doing
Hmm.
your own form of brain fitness. Like, just like you said, it's already occurring now through this course and through any type of brain fitness training that I'm offering. It gives context, it gives terminology, it gives the understanding and links together what you're already doing with the basically the science behind it. And that is very affirming. And to know that
Mm.
you're providing that value add to your clients as a fitness professional is very meaningful. And also, as the person taking the course, a person may take the course to support their aging relatives or their clients, their members. You can't help but benefit yourself the moment you take it,
Yeah,
because now you're learning this material, you're putting it into practice.
I love that. All right. You mentioned the science base of this course. What is a science-backed example of being able to improve, aspects of brain fitness or health, such as resilience, memory, or cognitive longevity? You coin it as clear, you know, also. So let me ask you that. What would be an example of a science based that would help us improve mental resilience, memory, or cognitive longevity?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, we kick off the course with learning about our superpower, neuroplasticity. And that's a key word that I'd like bring into this conversation, because our brain is malleable, changeable, modifiable at every age and stage of life. So we can tap into that and use that the fact that our brain is like plasticine and we can sculpt it, we can use that to our advantage. And then within the scope of the course, there's really a robust toolkit of ways to do it. And I'm going to go on an interesting vantage point here, because not many people realize how much our beliefs around aging affect our memory, our resilience, our actual aging trajectory. And it's unbelievable, actually, because there are a lot of age myths, things that aren't true about aging, that the society has bought into. And left unchecked, without any kind of critical thinking, they are really having a negative impact on people's aging process and affecting those very things that you mentioned. Memory and cognitive decline are right up there. So some examples, are you interested in me sharing some examples of age myths?
Oh, I'd absolutely love to. And that is key because there are a lot of beliefs around, aging and myths that I want to debunk. So help us debunk at least one.
Yes, absolutely. Well, here's an example. It's commonly believed that sleep is unnecessary for the aging population, which is completely wrong. Actually, more sleep is needed. We do so much healing in our sleep that sleep is a fabulous opportunity to improve our brain health and our cognitive functioning. Another one is there's a belief that it's better to be less active when we're aging, or entered in those aging years. And that isn't accurate either. In fact, if you don't use it, you lose it. Equally true, if you don't move it, you lose it. And so aging people, to activate our hormones, to activate our circulation for that matter, and get oxygen and nutrients to our cells, and especially up there to our brain, we need to move around. And so those are two examples of commonly believed age myths that are not supporting us. Because if a person believes, say you're caregiving to an elderly and you're like, hey, get up early, you don't need that sleep, but then sit around all day because movement isn't good for you. If we act on those incorrect age myths, we are only progressing someone's cognitive decline and brain health issues. So yeah, those are two great examples right there.
Wow. Well, you heard it here. Jill Hewlett telling us that if your beliefs around aging, they can actually positively and or negatively impact how you age. And we certainly don't want them to negatively. I can think of one person in my immediate circle that will listen to this podcast. We have differences of opinion on how aging and what we should be leaning into or sitting back on. So I am definitely passing this episode along. Thank you. That was a big one because we really do have to support the way the brain needs to move to continue to preserve its youthfulness as we do our body. And I do
Yes.
hope that those listening and watching will realize that, oh yeah, the brain is like a muscle and it's like plasticine, you can mold it. And the more that you mold it, the more that you can shape it to perform or be in its best state. Is that correct?
Exactly, exactly. No,
Mm.
well said,
Wow.
well said. And these, not only will a person then jump into the driver's seat of their neuroplasticity and then start to become empowered to sculpt their brain, they're going to get better results. And guess what? They're going to enjoy the ride. I always like to say, jump onto the neural pathway.
I
and,
love it.
and create your brain map in a way that is fulfilling and robust and meaningful and healthy. And only you can do it. No one can sculpt your brain for you. So when a person clears those myths, those age myths, and they
Mhm.
start to attend to themselves and care for themselves properly, they will yield positive results. They'll see positive results, and they will enjoy life more too.
And Jill, I know you have some really fun techniques that you have actually engaged groups, large, small, one on one, and people immediately feel different when you say act on and the impact is that immediate. Would you be able to share, knowing that most people will be listening, some will watch this episode, but could you share just one technique where people actually will feel that connection or the impact of that exercise like that?
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. So there's hundreds of brain fitness activities, and depending on the group and how much time we have and what their
Yep.
goals are, I'll share accordingly. For the purposes right now, I think that a really important message to get across is that stress takes its toll on our brain, and there's
Mm.
stress for people of all ages. And going into the aging years, there's a lot of change and adaptation going on. And to keep our brain cognitively flexible and to keep it working at its best, we need to make sure the left and right brain hemispheres are working together as a team. And when we're in stress, we go into something called sidedness, where one side kind of falls offline and the other side takes over, our dominant side, and we are literally out of balance physically, mentally, and emotionally.
Mm.
So
Never
rather than
thought of it that way. Never thought
isn't
of
that
it
neat?
that way before. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, no, so it's a neat concept. So stress and balance don't coexist. It's you're in one state or the other. And so how we can intentionally bring back balance is by doing activities that require the left and right sides of our brain. And because the left and right sides of our body activate those opposite sides of the brain, for example, the right side of your body connects to the left hemisphere, your left side of your body connects to your right hemisphere, that by doing movements that work together, you create that brain activation, basically. And so a perfect example is going for a walk. Now, I'm going to change that into a brain fitness activity for you and the viewers and the listeners, because sometimes people don't have time to go for a walk. It's raining out. They're too busy. They're about to jump into a meeting, or they need to attend to some family members, or for whatever reason, they just don't want to put on their running shoes and go outside. So there's no excuse. We can go for a walk right here, right now on the spot. And there's so much value because research shows that walking will slow down and reverse dementia. In fact, I'm going to read a quote here because there was a study published in JAMA Neurology, and they found that walking around 10,000 steps per day, which is about 5 miles, is associated with a 50% lower risk of developing dementia. 50% lower. Now, even though walking half of that, not less than half, say 4,000 steps per day, about 2 miles per day, that is still associated with a 25% reduction. So if that isn't, inspiration and motivation
Motivating.
to get out there for just a simple walk, I don't know what is. But again, we can modify that to do that right here, right now, together on the spot. So it's as simple as we could start just doing it seated. Take your right hand, bring it across your body and touch your left knee. And then your left arm across your body and touch your right knee. And then just continue this back and forth movement, side to side. And I invite people to coordinate their breath with their movement, so they become more limber as they do it. They get more of their body into it. You're turning your head. Notice as you turn side to side what's around you. That eye movement is so important for brain functioning as well. Oftentimes, especially if we're sitting for long periods of time in front of at a desk, we're just looking forward. So we need to open up and look in all directions in that peripheral vision. And then what you can do is a person could then, to activate it further, they can do it standing. And if someone's having a balance issue, then stand near something for some support, a wall or the back of a couch or something. But doing it standing, the opportunity here is to start off at a speed, walking on the spot that's comfortable for you, and then see how slow you can go. Because as you're doing it slowly, it's requiring balance. And that will allow us to develop our balance muscles, our vestibular system, which again is offline when we're in stress. And a big concern for the aging population is falls. So, and they're wanting to preserve their mobility. So having this opportunity first thing when you wake up in the morning, throughout the day, when you're in the kitchen making a meal, waiting for the water to boil, whatever it is, you can do some walking
literally.
on the spot and do it then slowly to activate further benefit from that activity. And it's a simple thing, but it done over time, the benefits are there and they're cumulative.
Yeah, doing it, and I find that when I did it slowly, I thought differently, and it seemed to really fire up different neurons. I really thinking differently about my body, but it also calmed me down. It slowed down my brain to really
Yeah.
process that balance piece. So that was interesting. And it's something that, I hear this and I see it. I'm familiar with your work. I think, why don't I do that like every 30 minutes when I'm stuck at my desk for hours at a time? Because I actually feel far more turned, like lit up. There's a word for you. Lit up in my mind, and therefore I feel clearer and, of course, more focused. And that's just one quick example that everyone can do wherever they're at in their day. So that's just one. I'm sure there's many more that are part of the course. We could talk about it forever, but we will have to. We're going to zero in with something that I know our listeners and viewers will want to ask, and that is, how do I learn more about the course, and how can I learn more about Jill Hewlett and the work that you're doing? So I'm going to give you the lead. What is the best way for people to connect with you to learn more about your work? And then I'll talk about the CanFitPro course and how to learn more there.
Absolutely, for sure. Well, thank you, Mo. The best place to really go is to my website at jillhewlett.com. So go to the website, and right away at the top of the page, there's an opportunity to access my free brain guide. And it's a quick download, just put in your email, and along with that brain guide that will be sent as a PDF to your email, you'll also get access to my weekly brain and life reset that goes out every Monday morning around noon hour Eastern time. And it's full of just like quick, easy, accessible reminders, strategies, inspiration that's all neuroscience based that people can kind of stay in the conversation of brain training and maybe implement throughout the week. And I always make them quick and easy, but a great way to start off your week, investing into your brain. And
Love
then,
that.
right. And then as well, there's my social media handles, which I think you're going to share. And they're at the bottom, the footer of every, on my web pages. So they're easy to access.
All right. Well, thank you for that. And I love how you launch it early in the week so people can apply it. That's very doable and also fun because it gives everybody something to focus on, whether you're training with a client, you're teaching a class, want to actually engage your team at work or be a better performer yourself. And so thank you. That's great. You just gave me a wonderful idea for myself as far as how I can actually tee people up for something else that I'd love to do with my newsletter to have more people look forward to it as well as engage in it. But thank you for that. I always start my week moving with Mo, but I love yours. That's really great. Of course, everyone, to learn more about the course itself at CanFitPro, for those not familiar, you can go to www.canfitpro.com and you can find it through our continuing education. And under that menu bar, you will find Jill Hewlett, Brain Fitness for Active Aging. And so, once again, canfitpro.com. It's an online self directed course. I've started it myself and it's so fun. I just love the introduction. You can watch that right on the website. It's super fun the way that you've introduced the course, Jill. So, everybody go there, check it out, and you can take advantage of that course to bring it into your life. And of course, I love to close with a quote. So, Jill, I'm going to give that to you this time around. What would you share as your favorite quote or something that you think would be pertinent to close off today's episode or best piece of advice?
Thank you, Mo. I have a lot of favorite quotes. So to pick one is a little tricky because I'm kind of an inspiration groupie. I like things that inspire, and quick little sentences and words can create a brain shift, which is amazing.
Mm,
But for the purposes of our time today, I think I'm going to go along the lines of a quote that it's inspired by something that David Bowie, famous musician, said, and that aging is a process of becoming the person who you are meant to be. And
wow.
isn't that powerful? Because when you think about it, breaking that down, what is life is a journey. And so often in society, we focus on the younger years and making it big in their 20s or 30s and having it all figured out. But the reality is, while younger brains may be quicker at computations or quicker thinking, the aging brain has more wisdom. It has more scaffolding, more cognitive reserve, more life experiences. And so when we care for ourselves, we have the opportunity then to expand this life journey to become even more on purpose, to live even more authentically, to realize even more of our potential. And I think that's really, really important because it's almost like when we don't honor or respect the aging part of life, we are leaving the bulk of this incredible life lived experience that people have gathered through raising families, through seeing the changes of what's happened on the planet from generation to generation, to the experiences they've learned through being at work. And ultimately, these people are our mentors. And so, but it starts with ourselves. We have to let go of age myths, and we have to key into a positive, healthy mindset around aging, and then embrace the opportunity that aging, and in fact, can become an opportunity to become the person we're meant to be.
Oh boy, I needed to hear that today. Thank you for that. That was brilliant, purely brilliant. I'm going to encourage all of you on those wise words from Jill Hewlett and David Bowie. Keep moving with purpose, keep training your brain for a fit and resilient life. And remember, mental health is just as important as physical health. So let's keep the conversation going. Thank you so much, Jill. Thanks to you all for tuning in. And I'll see you next time on A Moment with Mo.